Here's my straightforward approach to using range-based footprint charts and delta. I'll walk you through my process in a simple and easy to follow way. Let's dive in.
Traderholics.
Hey, welcome to Traderholics. We're not gurus, we're traders just like you. We share what's worked for us and keep you updated on the latest in trading. Also, don't forget to join us on our live stream weekdays. Now, if that sounds good, hit subscribe, click the notification bell so you never miss out, and let's get to it. So, as usual, let's get straight into it. This is what's on one of my other charts on my left screen. So what you can see over here is it's basically a footprint chart. Now, for those of you who don't know what a footprint chart is, it basically represents, it shows you each candle, the buys and sells that happen within each candle that forms. Okay, so on one side you'll have buys, on the other buys you'll have sells, and it represents that with numbers within a candle. Now, the other thing is, of also using on this, you'll see this is the footprint chart itself. You have down the bottom what's called delta. So if you know what delta is the difference between basically buys and sells. So if you had 100,000 buys and you only had 80,000 sells, you would have 20,000 left over in the positive because you got 20,000 more buys than sells. So in that case, that would represent 20,000 in delta, positive delta. Okay, if you're just looking at pure, volume on the candle. So what you see down here is a representation of the delta, okay, within each candle. So you can see here, in this candle, there's been 9,674 negative delta. Okay, so that's telling you there's a lot more sells than buys at the moment. Okay, just hang on a second. Let me put my little thing on. So, yeah, so here on that particular candle just here, you'll see, again, 9,974 negative delta on that candle. And as you can see, the colour's orange, which represents red. It represents red, it's going down. You can see over here, there was on this candle here, there was only 152 negative delta. It's got minus because it's negative delta, but it's green, it's positive delta. Okay, so you can see in that candle there, it ended up at 152 minus negative delta. Okay, now these figures down the bottom here, okay, that you see, represents, just let me get rid of that for a second. So these these figures down the bottom with the percentage next to them, what that tells you is that in percentage, how many more sells or buys there was compared to the previous candle. So for argument's sake, in this candle here, okay, that one there, you can see it's got minus 391%. That means there's 391% more sells than that previous candle. So the sell, there's a lot more sellers in that candle, okay, that happened compared to that candle. And here you had slightly more buys, 87% more buys than the previous candle. Okay, so that's what that explains to you there. Now, I don't use that too much. I'm not too worried about that. The most important thing is that top line, which is your negative and positive delta. Okay, now just let me hide this for a second. So before we dive further into the footprint charts, if you find this info helpful, please consider using our discount code TAH for your favourite prop firm. This helps you save money while supporting the channel. Now, let's get back into the video. On this chart, you'll also notice up here, okay, that it says range up there. Okay, so this is a range chart. Now, if you don't know what a range chart is, on this, the settings I have is it's 31 ticks. So in other words, you have 31 ticks. So you have 31 of these. That represents every candle, okay? So it won't print a candle until there's 31 ticks. Once 31 ticks has happened, it will finalise that candle, right? Then it'll start printing the next one. So when there's another 31 ticks finished, it'll print that candle. So you can see the candles are all the exact same size, okay? So all the candles are the same size, no time is involved. It could take 1 hour to print one, it could take 2 minutes to print one, it could take 10 seconds, depending how volatile the market is. So yeah, it's 31 ticks. Every level is 31 ticks. So if I expand this for you, okay, you will see. Okay, if I just make it a little bit wider too, okay, so you can see there. So each one of these little levels with the numbers in them is a tick. And there's 31 of these, okay? Now, you'll also see, I see this big red box that's over here as well. I'll explain that in a minute. Now, what happens is if I expand this like this, which I don't do, I have it set like this these days. I don't need to see all that, okay? All I need to do is to see the candles and the delta, okay? But these little dots that you see here, they're called imbalances, okay? Now, if you know anything about the imbalances within a candle, it just means you've had more buys or sells diagonally from the previous buy or sell. So, for argument's sake, if I just expand this a bit, this is I've got a setting where when you see 3 of these dots, or that shows as dots there, but in actual fact, you'll see that they're blue numbers there, or depending if they're sells or buys. So you can see there was 2 there. So if I shrink it, it turns them into dots, so you can still see that there was imbalances. So you can see there was 3 imbalances here. Now, when you get 3 in a row like this, I can find one where you get 3 in a row. So the settings I have. Okay, so when you see you get that red box there, that means there's been 3 stacked imbalances. So they're now called stacked imbalances, because the settings I have is when you get 3 of them in a row, they call that a stacked imbalance, which means that there's a lot more selling at this point, because they're orange ones, than there is buying within that candle at that point. There's been some heavy selling. Now, the settings I have is that it's at least 2 times more than the previous level. So if I blow this up, so you can see the imbalances there, it actually works diagonally like this. Okay, it's to this one there, to that one there, to that one there. So it has to be at least 2 times bigger than the amount of buys in that cell, in that cell, and in that cell. And it happens diagonally, okay? So this one would have to be twice as big as that. This one would have to be twice as big as that for those numbers to show up, or by shrinking it, you would see the dots, okay? So if I shrink it back, you'll see they turn into dots, okay? So when you have three ticks where there's more sells or buys, 2 times more than the one previous to it diagonally, that's called a stacked imbalance, which gives you an idea that there's some heavy buying or selling within that candle at that time, and it could push the candle up or down if you see a lot of that happening. Now, you can also use that as when you see these big boxes like this, so you'll see them up there. Can you see those? So if we follow that, I hope you'll see where they're derived from. So they're called derived areas, which is basically a stacked imbalance, and it just marks it out because they can be used as support and resistances as well. So you'll see this was a selling imbalance. There was 3, a minimum of 3 together. So it draws that. So that can be used as a resistance. So you can see here, okay, price is sort of flattened out. It's poked above it, and then it's come down, okay? So that's sort of held as a bit of resistance. If we scroll through, you'll see lots of those, right? If I go back to here, You'll see some derived areas there, okay? Now it's broke through, for argument's sake, so we can find some, and when they're obviously positive delta imbalances like this one, it'll be a green box, right? So that can be used as support, basically, okay? So, and it crosses it off once the candle passes through it. That's the settings I have. But they can be used for support and resistance, okay? Now, the next thing I've got on here, which I got made for myself, was it's an EMA. So basically this here is a 10 EMA, this white line. And these other two lines, the green and the red, is 32 ticks away from the EMA, right? So it measures 32 ticks away from that 10 EMA and 32 ticks away from the EMA either side of it. So it's sort of like a Bollinger Band, if you know what those are, like follows each side. And it's set to 32 ticks because it's a 31 range chart, but it actually prints like 32. Bit confusing, but it's what happens. So that's why I've got set it at 32. So you will see what it does is it gives me an idea of, if we just scroll through this, of it stays usually within these sort of bounds. It pokes through, but you can see it comes back. It gets up to there, it comes back, just pokes below, comes back in. Let's have a look a bit more. And it can also tell you the trend direction, okay? Because you'll see them start to slope like this. Okay, so it's telling you a bit of a trend direction. And if you're getting a heavy pump or a dump, you can see the candles sitting outside. Okay, so you can get candles that will ride that top EMA like this. Okay, it can do. You'll see it ride, okay? When there's a strong, pump or dump, it can get outside this, and you will see the candle sort of just sitting on top, just poking into it a little bit. Okay, bit messy there, but you get the idea. Like if I scroll through, see there, you can see that it was sitting on top of that outside EMA there. Okay, doesn't happen that often, only when there's a strong pump or a strong dump. But generally, it will see how it came back in and where did it stop at that bottom band. Okay, so it's similar to a Bollinger Band. Just look at it that way. Okay, so you know that from here to here, that's one of these candles. The distance of one of these candles from here to here, distance is one of these candles. So you know that if the price starts here and the price is going down, it'll finish by the time it gets, that candle will print by the time it gets to the bottom, and vice versa, right? Now, so how I use it, okay, mainly, just get a bit better of a spot for you to sort of see if I can get a better spot. So let's try this and you'll see what happens. Okay, so how I use it is I look at the delta. I've done some testing, I've taken some stats. Now, generally, when you get such a strong negative delta, say over 600, so when you get over 600 delta in these boxes, that candle will usually finish that color. So if that's over 600 negative delta, okay, that candle will usually finish red. If you normally get a plus 600 positive delta, that candle will, most of the time, 80% of the time, not always, nothing's 100%, will end up printing green, okay? So how do you use that? Well, obviously, if it's just past plus 600 either way, there's a good chance that if you're scalping, okay, and let's say the candle is halfway. So let's say the candle's printed halfway and you've got, say, 500-600 positive delta, okay? This candle could be going up and down while it's printing, but if the positive delta is 600 at least, and you see it's slowly increasing, even though it might be going back and forth, up and down within that candle, there's a chance that that's going to finish positive, right? That candle's going to finish green, blue in this case, which is green. So if you were scalping and it was halfway, so my point is, let's say that candle was halfway, that candle's worth 31 ticks, right? So halfway is about 15 ticks, which means you could scalp 15 ticks, okay, on this candle if it was halfway and you had a strong delta, right? Obviously, if it was a minus delta, you could scalp it. So for this one here, if this is about, say, 600, around the halfway point, you could scalp 15 ticks, give or take, downwards, because you know it's going to, 80% of the time, it will finish that colour, okay? So that's one way to use the footprint candles, okay? So that's a very powerful one. Now, the other thing that I've tested, that I have found as well, is on a strong, see if I can find somewhere. Say on a strong, I want to find a decently sort of strong one that's really a strong pump. Okay. Now, not a fantastic one, but just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Now, I probably want to find a better one. See if I can find something slightly better, actually. Just give me 2 seconds here. See if I can find something. A bit more of a better example. Okay. I'll just use this section here. And you can even see here, actually. So I'll give you some examples. So how else do I use it? Okay, I use it like this. I did some testing and I've done some numbers. And what I found is that generally, at any given time, each candle will at least retrace into the next candle by at least 4 ticks, right? So you can see, like, if that candle's retraced into this candle about this much, correct? Right? Okay, this candle was only probably two or three if you're lucky, not much, didn't retrace much. But you can see every other candle has at least retraced 4 ticks, right? If I just get rid of that for a second and I blow it up a little bit bigger for you, so you can see Okay. Now that one there was only, you can see 2 little levels, so that was only 2 ticks. But see this 1 tick, 2 ticks, 3 ticks, 4, 5, 6. That retraced 6 ticks into the next candle, right? That's retraced easily 4 more. There you've retraced about 5 ticks. Here a hell of a lot more. So you can see 80 to 90% of the time, right, especially on normal movement, not when it's really pumping fast or dumping fast, but on normal regular movement, you'll at least get the candle retracing into the next one 4 ticks or more, right? So you can see here, again, like this candle's retraced into this candle, easily 4 ticks or more. There's about 4 ticks. Okay, maybe 2 on that one, more than 4 ticks, etc., etc. So you can see how each candle has retraced. So you can use that to your advantage as well, right? Because when that candle printed, you're wondering, oh, is it going to go straight down? Okay. Now, if it's not moving fast or it's not dumping, you know that it's most likely going to come back into that candle at least 4 ticks. So you could wait for the retrace, right? So you would wait. So when this candle finished printing, this candle wasn't there obviously at the time. The candle would have started here. Now, it could have started going down first, but at some point, it's going to retrace at least 4 ticks or more. So you could wait for that retrace before getting in. So you're not getting into your stop loss before you take that trade, for argument's sake, right? So again, really good for scalping. So that's something very interesting for you. It's called mitigation, okay? It's one of the most powerful things I've found in trading, that everything mitigates because the market's very balanced, okay? Most of the time, the candles, especially on the time-based charts, will mitigate at least 50% of the candle, which means that it will retrace at least 50% of the candle, right? On the range charts, not so much, but on a time-based chart, you want to look for mitigation. Most of the time, a candle will mitigate at least 50% of the previous candle in most cases. And if it doesn't, there's a good chance it's going to come back down there to take it, okay? That's another little tip for you. So you know that it's going to retrace 4 in. When there's a strong uptrend, if I could find one where it's really hanging on the outside, so you can see it doesn't happen that often, but look, even on this strong push upwards, you can see each candle has still retraced 4 or more, okay, ticks at least, okay? So like you can see in this strong up move here, still retraced 4 or more, okay? So when that candle finished, you could wait for it to retrace first before taking the trade here and then copying a bit of a redraw, you wouldn't have to do that. But trust me when I say there is times when it sits outside here and it won't go for 4. But 80% of the times, you'll at least have four tick retrace, okay? So that'll happen, but you will get those times where it like see here, it's only about 2. It only retraced about 2 ticks, okay? But it doesn't happen very often. Just look at it, okay? So if you're scalping, how you can use that, okay? Wait for the retrace and then get in with the trend, okay, on that movement there. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how I use this chart, okay? Now I'll show you if I'll show you something. Where am I? Just give me two seconds. I'll show you where to. Whoops, wrong one. Hang on. I'll go to the chart in a minute. Okay, so if you are interested in this, now you can use any footprint chart you like. This was from Futures Analytica, which they have a chart just for this, because I like the way that it was set up. It's nice and simple. But you can use any footprint chart to do this, which has a delta down the bottom as well, okay? So I'll show you where I got mine from. Get to here. When you get to this website, Futures Analytica, just scroll down a page and a little bit and you'll see it here, Analytica Chart 4, okay? That's that footprint model that I'm using, okay? And you can see there the price, etc. Use that link and hopefully give you a bit of a discount, etc. Okay, so yeah, there's that. That's up to you if you want to use that footprint chart. By all means, you don't have to. There's plenty of footprint charts out there. Some of the platforms have them for free on there, so you can use those. But I just use this for NinjaTrader because I use NinjaTrader as a platform, and I just love how the simplicity of it. Okay, so hopefully you can see how I use that chart. You can use that to your advantage, and yeah, hopefully you'll be able to use it and make some good work out of it, and use that as another confirmation for your trading. Okay, here's the settings for each of those, the EMAs and the Analytica Chart 4 chart that I use. So let's just do the Analytica Chart 4 footprint chart first. So there's the settings that you want to have, so you can see it there. So I'll scroll down, so we'll get to the bottom there. So take a screenshot of that. Then you want to go from there, take a screenshot of that. Next we want to go to there, take a screenshot of that. More ticks, etc. there. Take a screenshot of that. And go statistics and grid next. Up to there. Take a screenshot of that. And then the last little bit there. Take a screenshot of that. So there are all the settings I have for the footprint chart, Analytica Chart 4. Then let's have a look at the EMAs that I got. Now you can just see the settings there. That's the whole lot there. If you want that indicator, I can send it to you. Just email me, and I'll send it to you in a zip file. I got it created for myself. I'll give it to you for free, so don't worry. I paid for it to get made, but it's quite simple. So yeah, I'm happy to give that to you for free anyway. So it's just my EMAs, and they're the settings. Okay.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.